So, the title of this video. Bold statement, isn't it? I'm sure some Pokemon apologists won't appreciate it, but that's honestly how I feel. These games are the lowest effort Pokemon Mainline games ever made. There's not much good about it. Personally, with my dark humor, I'd say the best thing about this game is that it keeps the trend that started with Sun Moon back in 2016, where every mainline game is worse than the one before it. But I'm not trying to shit on ILCA, the company that developed this game. They probably could have made a better game if they had the option to do so, but the whole development was overseen and directed by Game Freak's higher ups. ILCA wasn't allowed to add anything new and exciting. They were told what to do and how to do it. As far as I see it, this game is just another low effort, quarter-assed, not even half-assed, quarter-assed game made by Game Freak. But the only problem with this statement is that I'm not entirely sure whether Legends Arceus or Brilliant Diamond Shining Pearl are worse. I know this statement is probably perplexing to people seeing how popular Legends is. The game is quite fun, but as far as I see it, this fun mainly comes from the novelty of the new playstyle and the new setting of past Sinnoh. If you look at the Legends game from a technical perspective, it's another low-effort game with nothing to do other than throwing balls at Pokemon. Meanwhile, the Diamond and Pearl remakes have more in it, but are just badly made, modernized versions of already badly made, boring originals. And I feel that latest statement is going to get some people ruffled up because of the nostalgia. I too grew up with Diamond and Pearl and Platinum, and back then I loved them and I saw no wrong in them. But while trying to replay them in recent years, I've realized the games are pretty damn boring. We'll get further into that later, so let's for now continue with the question of what's worse. I personally find it hard to say which game is worse, the remakes or Legends Arceus. For now I'm going to say it's Brilliant Diamond Shining Pearl, because even if it's just the novelty of some new fresh air into the Pokemon games, it was fun, and I can say that for the remakes. And with that, hello there. I'm Zeyc, and welcome to my critical review of Pokemon Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl. I've already touched on it, but many points I'm going to make are going to be critiques of the original games, rather than solely based on the remakes. They even, for the time, weren't that good. We nowadays see them in a better light compared to all the trash games we've been getting. But there's a reason why Pokemon games dipped a bit in sales after Gen 4. Many remember them as being better in their memory, because back then the games were made as a climax to the Pokemon story, with meeting, fighting and catching actual god Pokemon for the first time. It was the accumulation of the journey Pokemon players went on for nearly 10 years. And that, combined with the games being rushed and not really being that good, eventually led to many people believing that they've grown out of Pokemon with them. But let's start with the more in-depth review with the most, subjective point. The chibi style looks like garbage. From a distance, it might not be that apparent, but once the game zooms in and, it will, and that often, the style kinda looks like deformed Lego people. Cyrus, the main antagonist especially, looks like the sleep-deprived kid from Meet the Robinsons, and we're supposed to be scared of him. well, as scared as you should be in a Pokemon game. And on top of that, the following Pokemon are in the normal realistic style, which gives off this uncanny valley feeling when they walk around in this chibi world, which for me quite often just breaks immersion. Then there's the story. It's just some dude deciding to end the world because he's depressed. He doesn't like the world, let's end it, make a new one. And for whatever reason, people trying to help him, even though he intends to kill them too. At least the book that confirms Pokemon and humans once married is still here. I'm sure someone's happy about that. And for anyone arguing these games are faithful, no, they aren't. They really aren't. They're a cheap cash grab where most things are just copied over from the originals while also excluding or simplifying things that would require more work and effort. Instead of, copying Platinum, the by far best way to play the Sinnoh games, they decided against it because reprogramming Platinum into 2 different game versions of the same game would have been too much work. Then they added the dumb perma XP share in it, because they fear that the newer players are too brain dead to beat the slightly more difficult game otherwise. And just in case they still have problems, you're given 2 mythical Pokemons right after the first gym. Then there's the half-assed new way they handle HMs, which they yet again included because of their expectance that modern players are otherwise not capable of getting through the game. But why did it have to be Bidoof and Bibarel for every single one, other than the 2 flying HMs? You could have at least programmed a few random Pokemon to show up every time, but nah, too much effort again. And if the game's still too difficult, then don't worry about it. There's also the friendship mechanic that unnecessarily slows the already badly optimized and slow text boxes down even more. This becomes especially painful while searching for rare spawns in the grass. Then they butchered the underground bases because they didn't want to make models for all the decorations you were able to put into your little cave to make it a homely and comfortable place. Now, all you get are statues of Pokemon, which are more of a pain than a reward, because they're the thing you'll find the most while digging in the underground, making it harder for you to find the stuff you actually want. Oh, and there's the always available PC. This isn't really anything difficult to program, so I can't really praise them for it. Oh, there are also the contests. They still exist. Same here. I'm pretty sure the rework was done to save on work they needed to make new models and to program it into 3D. So now instead of a tactical alternative to the battles, it's just a glorified rhythm game. And come on! From all the life improvements, they just had to leave the one I liked the most out. TMs are back to one use, which sucks for people that are unsure if they need them in the future or if they'll be able to buy them again later. And I'm sorry if this is becoming repetitive, but let's be honest here. Keeping the TMs as one use was yet another way to not having to put more effort into the game. But enough of that tangent. The next problem is the region and the progression through it. There are nearly no places to explore. The only places you aren't forced to explore are the Ghost Mansion, which only has Ghastly in it, other than that one-time spawn of Rotom after beating the Elite Four. Then there's the area and cave below the bicycle bridge that has no new Pokemon of value in it, other than Gibble, which again isn't available the first time you get access to it. Then there's the marsh, which, well, I'd be surprised if anyone likes exploring the marsh, considering it still has the annoying getting stuck in a mud mechanic. And lastly, there's the Iron Island, which, again, only has 2 Pokemon that could make it worth visiting. One is Steelix for those that don't have access to trading, and the other one is a Riolu egg, which kinda sucks for those who want it in their team, because they first have, to get it up to the level of all the other Pokemon, and also there's still the problem of, increasing its friendship so it evolves. And getting through the game is just slow and painful, with trainers waiting for you every few steps. The trainer density is way too high. They're everywhere, waiting for you to battle you with their unevolved Pokemon that are 10 levels lower than yours. I'm not kidding. Even your rival still uses a Starly at level 26 after the 4th gym. And if that isn't enough of a problem, everyone uses the same Pokemon. Well, not like they have a choice, given that every route you go to has the same Pokemon besides, well, if you're lucky, one new one. And from these, many are Pokemon you can't evolve or are difficult to evolve. Many of them are just trade evolutions or friendship evolutions or Ponyta, which evolves level 41. This is another problem that Platinum fixed, but they went back on to save work. Seriously, keeping the regional dex to 150 Pokemon is a baffling decision, considering that most Pokemon you'll meet on your new adventure are old ones you met in every single game before it. Meanwhile, they hide new Pokemon like Hippopotas in a cave where you're probably not even aware Pokemon spawn in, and even then it's a 1% encounter the first time you get there. Or, well, Pokemon like Burmy, which I always wanted in my team, and it's still hidden behind those absolutely trash honey trees. But let's now talk about the game's technical side. And if the previous complaints are anything to go by, then this is probably going to be horrible too, right? Well, yeah, you'd be right. They basically copied the original code 1-to-1, down to even adding the old glitches and bugs. People even found new bugs in these games, then went back to the original games and found out they've been in the game all the time. But hey, at one point we had all the glitches you could want, duplicating items, Pokemon even, whole boxes of Pokemon at once. You can visit Shaman without having to wait for the dumb event to be distributed for a short while. But not Darkrai, though. They made sure to unspawn it, but not Shaman though. Next we have a never before seen glitch. You now can turn any Pokemon with an evolution into a shiny, basically giving the shiny from a different Pokemon over to that Pokemon while it evolves. And, well, they tried to patch these out, but people just constantly found new ways to do them. Only recently, after many months of failing, did they actually manage to get rid of these exploits. And luckily, they also managed to add in another system to stop people from trading duplicated Pokemon. But that's not all. The train AI, well, they now sometimes swap their Pokemon, but they've basically gone back to always use the most effective move, which includes non-damaging moves, which means, well, that you're able to cheese some fights by using setup moves while the enemy sits there and uses something like Growl for 8 turns. And the next point really hurts me, because it's really dear to my heart. They added the Shiny Charm, but it doesn't work. Well, it doesn't work properly. It still mentions that it's that it increases the chances of, well, Pokemon being shiny, but it doesn't. It only increases the chances of X being shiny, and from what I've heard, it's again due to the code just being copied over. You see, the shiny charm was added in Pokemon Black and White 2, which means Diamond and Pearl originally didn't have them and the required code for it. Apparently, for it to work, you would have to add a custom line of code to every Pokemon in the game, but they didn't, because they don't care, and it would be too much effort. You could give them the benefit of the doubt and say they forgot, but by now they must know about it and they still haven't fixed it. So for now, if you like me wanna hunt shiny legendaries, you'll have to live with a 1 out of 4,000 chance. Seriously, it hurts, especially with the slow loading times of the games. One reset takes roughly a minute, and I'm on 11,500 resets for Palkia. That's 150 hours active resetting. I watched all of the Marvel movies, all of Lord of the Rings thrice, all of Star Wars, that's 1 to 6, the Hobbit trilogy, and I still haven't gotten it. And for this point, I gotta admit, I heard it from the YouTuber Acoustic Harmonica first. But Game Freak values their customers so little that they, instead of paying slightly more to have cartridges for the Switch with more save space, they just force the customer to download half the game instead. If you don't have internet or the space for the patch, or you buy the game after the Switch store went down, well, guess you're unlucky. Have fun with a game without a starting screen, with migraine-inducing background music, no end game after the Elite Four, and no trading. But to make matters worse, even though both games are literally the same code except for a single line that changes spawns, they'll still force you to download the 4GB patch for both versions of the game individually. And next to a more visual problem of Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl. And this time I'm not talking about the chibi art style. The best I can describe is that the textures on the Pokemon look like they sent ILCA a small image, which they then just upscaled and slammed onto the Pokemon models. Because every now and then when the camera zooms in during a fight, it's possible to see individual pixels on Pokemon. And not just when playing on a TV, no, even in handheld mode. But that's not the only problem with the visuals. Every time you throw a Pokeball, they glitch and spaz out, and don't get me wrong, I don't mean just the normal ones, I mean all the Pokeballs. Basically, what I believe is happening, the capture animation is technically 2 Pokeballs. The first one is spawned in the trainer's hand and is thrown, and the second one is the one that then falls to the ground after the Pokemon has been sucked up. And what's happening is that the second Pokeball is spawned too early inside the first one, so the textures and models overlap and it spazzes out. And I've only realized this later while playing Sword and Shield again, but even they have this exact problem. Though in Sword and Shield it's less apparent because the overlap time is shorter. And that brings us to, well, more or less the end. The Pokemon games are in a just sad state. It's the same as usual, too small of a team with not enough experience when it comes to programming, not enough time to make proper games, and further limitations because of the wish to make it as cheap as possible. Not a requirement, as they're easily capable of increasing the scope of games. It it just feels like an old friend that started to do drugs. You're constantly trying to help them and get them off the drugs, but all they do is just lie to you, push you away, and continue to destroy their lives. On a normal game scale, I'd say this game is a 4, maybe 5 out of 10. It's completely average, just another slogfest of an RPG. On a Pokemon scale though, and this just hurts, but this game would be a 2 out of 10. I couldn't recommend this to someone even if someone were to hold a gun to my head. Just play Platinum instead if you want the Generation 4 experience. As far as I'm concerned, Platinum even looks better than the remakes, and you can easily play it by using an emulator. Well, unless you want to pay like $100+ to get an original cartridge. The only bright side I can see for now is that them outsourcing these games to another company might mean the next generation games, Scarlet and Violet, will have more developers working on them. Like, I've already said at the start, I'm not sure which is worse, Legends Arceus or Brilliant Diamond Shining Pearl, but I'm pretty sure that Scarlet and Violet is going to break the cycle of every main game being worse than the one before it. I actually wish they'd make a proper Gen 4 remake to make up for this dog shit we've been given. Give us a Gen 4 remake in the style of Sword and Shield, base it off of Platinum, and add more plot and Pokemon in. Well, considering what's going to be in Legends Arceus, just adding the new Pokemon forms into a new storyline of the actual remake should be enough. And on top of that, make it possible to add all the Pokemon from Red and Blue to Sword and Shield. I don't care for the bullshit excuse of them taking too much space on the cartridge. 3DS games were capable of having them all, and since then available space only increased drastically. I often hear people say that the day where Pokemon would not have been capable of having all the Pokemon in one game would have eventually come, but as far as I see it, the day where Pokemon wouldn't have been able to put every single Pokemon into one game might have probably only happened like 100 years when we eventually reach the maximum of safe space on smaller cartridges, while they still keep on making new Pokemon. But that day is far, far, far in the future. And I'm pretty sure most of us, anyone that's currently listening to this, we're not gonna see it. But, well, they're not even gonna try, so even more as hell we ain't gonna see it. Sword and Shield DLC included roughly 10 GB. That's including story, world, and 720 Pokemon, while the maximum cartridge size for Switch is 24 GB. There's more than enough room to add all the Pokemon into a single game. Shit, Pokemon Go on mobile phones currently has more Pokemon in it than Sword and Shield, including DLC. But I'm just rambling and bitching here. Tell me, how do you feel about these games? Do you too wish for a proper remake? Thanks for watching, and hope to see you in the next one.